Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me here today. And actually, I was so glad to be able to sit down on some of the earlier presentations. And I'm always amazed at how much, even though we don't always know who's speaking before us or after us, how much we all have in common, and how similar our stories really are of hard work and success and disappointments, and then you pick yourself up and you start all over again. And as David said, sometimes you learn the most from your failures. I have to ask, though, it's one of the first things I do here to kind of set the stage. How many of you have been to a Build-A-Bear Workshop store? That's not 100%. We're going to have to work on that. I saw my CBC guys, they always get an incentive when I go to teach their class. They get a chance to go to Build-A-Bear with a little bit of a discount. But I hope that all of you, if you haven't by now, at least will stop over and visit us. You're never too old for the hug of a teddy bear. As the founder of Build-A-Bear, I'm so proud of what I created and the legacy that exists as a second generation of children become our guests. I'm equally proud to be known as an entrepreneur, and I'm using those skills significantly in my next act, where I'm engaged in the education and in the for-profit and nonprofit entrepreneurship of the community of St. Louis, building on the assets of St. Louis that makes us a great city. The dictionary says an entrepreneur is a person who organizes and manages any enterprise, especially a business, usually with considerable initiative and risk. But it goes way beyond Webster's definition. It's something inside of you that lets you put your mark on it, on every single thing you touch. It's something that makes you want to leave the world better than you found it. Whether it's a business, a classroom, a city, you always want to make it better than you found it, to leave your own legacy. So in a way, when you're thinking about that mission statement that David talked about, you might think about what is it that you want people to say you accomplished when you were here? What's your legacy? It's not just about building financial empires. It's about building empires of character and value and people, which in turn generates financial rewards. Yes, it's about passion. It's about doing what you love and loving what you do. My entrepreneurial spirit was instilled in me at a young age. I loved to pretend, and I had a great imagination. I grew up in a family of many possibilities. As the first in my immigrant family to graduate from college, I've been a significant beneficiary of the power of high expectation, high-quality public education. Growing up in the 50s and 60s, we were far from financially rich, but I was surrounded by new discoveries and inventions every day, from heart transplants to astronauts rocketing to the moon, to the creation of Disneyland, and the concept I love the most, shopping malls. All of these enriched my life and fueled my curiosity. And I knew that with a college education, I could be anything and everything that I wanted to be. And I know when some people look at this picture of myself in front of my house in Florida, dressed up as a princess, they say, well, that's not the cool thing for little girls to want to be a princess. My husband told me that I have exceeded my wildest expectations because I became the queen of teddy bears. I had many mentors. I was very fortunate to have great teachers, like my first grade teacher, Mrs. Grace, who taught us, her official job was to teach us how to read and write, because in those days, that's what you did when you went to the first grade. But I know now that Mrs. Grace also demonstrated how to be inquisitive, confident, and speak up for yourself. She graded our papers with these red pencils. I brought one with me, and maybe some of you, your teachers still use this, or you use it at work for some reason. The difference between today and the one that was way back when I was in first grade is they're erasable. And I thought that was the idea. The teacher marked your paper, and you couldn't do anything to change it, so when you took it home to your parents for their signature, they knew that was the real rights and wrongs on the test. But this pencil is way more significant in my life than just that. Because every Friday, Mrs. Grace would go to the pencil sharpener, that one on the wall that is grinding and kind of gives you, I don't see those in many classrooms anymore, and she would sharpen it up really sharp, and she would give it away as a reward. Not to the student who had the best attendance or who was the smartest or who was the most well-behaved. She gave the pencil away to the student in the class who made the most mistakes that week. So think about that. You're 6 years old, you're in the first grade. You always raise your hand when the teacher is calling on you. You want to be right way more than you want to be wrong, but it's okay to be wrong. It's okay to make a mistake. And you learn that at 6 years old. It's a pretty important lesson. And it's probably the first lesson I had in entrepreneurship. And I'm not even sure entrepreneur was in the dictionary back then. But this pencil became a really important part of my life. And little did I know it would be the best advice I ever got as an entrepreneur.